Hello, welcome. We are just waiting for folks to join today. We have about 400 people from all over South Carolina, parents and teachers and early educators, and just people who care about the lives of young children who are joining us. So while we do that, I wanted to provide just a few notes about today's event. You can see these on the screen. Please do feel free to comment in the chat or ask questions. We will have opportunities for Q&A with the wonderful speakers that we have today. You will not, unfortunately, have the ability to speak during this webinar. You will have the opportunity to rewatch or share this recording, which will be shared on the South Carolina First Steps YouTube channel. And please do be sure to give us your feedback from the Countdown to Kindergarten Summit using the QR code at the end of the presentation. Do we think everyone's here? I see the numbers going up. We're at, I think, 125 or so participants. And I'll go ahead and start by introducing myself. I am Georgia Mjartan. I'm the state director for South Carolina First Steps, which of course is the state's early childhood agency. We are committed to ensuring that all children from birth to 5 start school ready for success, healthy and safe, and supported by their parents, their caregivers, and their communities. And each of you is such a critical part of that community of support for our young children. Today, we are here to talk about and learn from experts who know what we need to be doing to ensure a smooth transition from those important early years into big school. So let me just begin by saying a few words about the transition from early childhood into kindergarten. That transition from early childhood into elementary school is, of course, such a critical time. It's a window of opportunity for young children and their families. And in the best case, the initial weeks and even months of kindergarten set the stage for strong and lasting relationships between home and school and community that will serve students throughout their academic careers. But smooth transitions are hardly a given, right? We know, and I say we know because I am the parent of 3 children myself. I was just at their elementary school today. We know that big changes can be stressful. They can be stressful for young and old alike, for children and for their parents. And so one of the things that we want to focus on today is how those routines and those relationships that we can build to make that handoff smooth from home to school, from early childhood into big school, how we can make that better for all people involved, for the children, for their parents, and even for the professionals, you who are in their lives receiving our babies. So with that, I want to thank you again for your partnership. I want to thank you for the role that you play in those smooth transitions, those sturdy bridges from early childhood into kindergarten. And I want to again welcome you to the 2024 Countdown to Kindergarten Summit. I also want to note and highlight that it has been our pleasure across South Carolina First Steps to be innovators in the early childhood school transition space. Since 2004, we have collaborated with nonprofits, with school districts, and with leaders like you and parents and families through an innovative school to home visiting program called Countdown to Kindergarten. It uses an evidence-based curriculum, and teachers complete 6 sessions with each family, 5 in the home and the last one at school. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our, shortly after I do an intro, to our speaker. That's who you really came here to see, Dr. Aprel Barnes. So let me ask Dr. Barnes to go ahead and turn on her camera, but you can remain muted while I share a few words about you. Hi, Dr. Barnes. It's so great to see you, and thank you for being with us today. Dr. Barnes is a general pediatrician with a heart for serving children and families in her local community as well as abroad. She has treated children and young adults in the US as well as in Zambia and Samoa. For the past 7 years, Dr. Barnes has been a pediatrician for Cooperative Health, a federally qualified health center right here in South Carolina. And we're so pleased to have someone with your level of knowledge and skills who has continued to serve the people of South Carolina. At Brooklyn Community Pediatrics, a location of Cooperative Health, she has diagnosed and treated children and young adults who often attend the same school she did growing up. In 2021, she was asked to lead her division as the pediatric division director, continuing to see children at the clinic and hospital, as well as developing innovative programs and initiatives that innovate to maintain the health of children and their families. Dr. Barnes is a graduate of Keenan High School right here in Columbia, South Carolina, and Spelman College, an all-female, historically Black college in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Barnes, thank you again for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Or afternoon, excuse me. So good afternoon. My name is Dr. April Barnes, and I wanted to thank South Carolina First Steps for inviting me to share my insights on school readiness. I've obtained this over the past 10 years of being a pediatrician. School is a child's first job, and I am very passionate about every child getting the best foundation for their school career. To that end, today, I will be discussing kindergarten readiness, the stick figure approach. Samantha, can you put up our poll? So before we get started, I just wanted to take a poll on who's joining me today. So it looks like a lot of educators, some parents. All right. So it looks like mostly educators and some parents and advocates, but I want to thank everyone for coming and listening to me talk about one of my passions. In the past, children were thought to be ready for school if they had certain skills. For example, if they could recite the alphabet or they could count to 10. However, kindergarten readiness depends on a number of additional factors. Good health. Children who are tired, hungry, or sick cannot concentrate. Conversation skills, because comprehension of words and reading are the foundations of all other learning. Confidence in themselves, so they can keep working when a task is difficult. The ability to manage their emotions, because things will not always go their way. And the ability to work with others as they wait their turn, because students cannot have the undivided attention of their teacher. Our stick figure is an easy way to remember the areas in which you can help your child prepare for school this fall. Physical health is the foundation of school readiness, and it is the overall picture of our stick figure. The more specific components for school readiness, cognitive skills, our stick figure's brain, and emotional social skills, our stick figure's heart, are built on physical health and well-being. Finally, we will put all these parts together and focus on the feet, walking into school ready to learn. So physical health, our foundation. The building blocks for health are physical activity, nutrition, sleep, and regular medical exams. These building blocks are the foundation for the physical skills needed for kindergarten. To maintain health and skills, preparations must be made for acute and chronic illnesses. Nutrition, physical activity, sleep, regular medical exams, and immunizations are the building blocks for good health. So where will you hear about these different blocks and how to promote them for your child? The annual physical exam or well visit. The physician will do screenings for development, check hearing and vision, as well as provide information or answer questions on nutrition, safety, and immunizations. Even if your family chooses not to vaccinate, well visits are important to review growth and development. The most important routines that impact physical health and the ability to learn are nutrition and sleep. Proper nutrition provides the vitamins and minerals needed to grow and learn. Sleep improves memory and attention for the next day. Good nutrition and adequate sleep produce the energy to help children play and learn. and play is the main way children get physical activity. Nutritional routines should promote healthy eating habits and provide a balanced diet. Eating breakfast and having a special family meal without screens are examples of routines that provide the energy needed for the day and promote self-esteem and builds language and communication skills. This plate shown is a pictorial view of the USDA My Plate. My Plate provides a guide for what an entire day's worth of eating should look like. This lunchbox is an example of a healthy lunch. It has grains, the goldfish, and the tortilla of the roll-up, fruits and veggies, blueberries, strawberries, and cucumbers. It has dairy, cheese, and cream cheese, and it has protein, turkey. So poll 2. When should screens be stopped prior to bedtime? Nobody's saying right before bedtime. All right, most of us are saying 1 hour before bedtime. And that is correct. In the hour prior to bedtime, discontinue screens. The blue light from screens actually mimics sunlight and reduces the melatonin that our bodies make. Melatonin helps us to fall asleep. So in the hour prior to bedtime, develop a routine to help your child wind down. Sleep is necessary for immune system function and overall mental and physical health. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends 10 to 13 hours of sleep for 3 to 5-year-olds, and that includes naps. A good bedtime to shoot for is between 6 and 8 p.m. Being a good sleeper is actually a skill and needs to be developed. This can be done through bedtime routines such as 3 B's and an S: bath, brush, book, and sleep. Unlike adults who are groggy or tired with inadequate sleep, children can be hyperactive or irritable. So our building blocks develop a good foundation for our physical skills. Big themes to work on over the summer include self-care, balance, hand-eye coordination, and fine motor skills. You can promote responsibility as well by working on physical skills and providing options. So options for clothing, options for activities, and options for food. Physical skills for kindergarten include gripping a pencil, crayon, or marker correctly, being able to use scissors, being able to skip, hop, and maintain balance, getting dressed before and undressed after using the bathroom, and writing their name. So know your child's physical abilities when choosing clothing, lunchboxes, and book bags. Independence is emerging at this age, and kids can feel very self-conscious when they cannot do things themselves. Easy-to-use clothing will decrease frustrations at school. Look for slip-on or Velcro shoes, elastic waistbands, and jackets with big zippers and zip pulls. Snaps and buttons on clothing or backpacks with clips and buttons may be difficult at this age. Work on these skills at home before sending your child to school with items beyond their developmental ability. To maintain physical health and skills, chronic and acute illness preparation is necessary. Children with chronic illnesses may need medications to be given at school. Forms such as asthma action plans and food allergy plans tell the school what to do when an emergency situation arises. The well visit is a great time to get these updated and to get refills on necessary prescriptions. If this is your child's first time in childcare or school, expect them to be sick a lot. Children with normal immune systems can have 8 to 12 respiratory infections per year. And this is why it is important for children to develop good hygiene habits, such as hand washing and covering coughs and sneezes. The foundation of physical health and skills is nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and regular medical visits. Developing routines for sleep and nutrition are very important, not just for physical development, but for learning and attention. Chronic and acute illness preparation maintains health and skills. The next body part on our stick figure is his brain, representing cognitive skills. When most parents think about school readiness, the cognitive skills are the skills that come to mind most often. Cognitive skills can be grouped into 3 categories: language development, mathematical thinking, and how a child approaches learning. Examples of mathematical thinking skills include counting to 20, identifying different shapes and colors, and sorting and classifying objects into categories. Examples of language and literacy skills include speaking clearly and conversing with others, identifying letters, and following multi-step directions. To prepare a child to develop cognitive skills in the new environment of kindergarten, a parent needs to use their temperament as a guide. Temperament has a huge impact on how a child adjusts to new environments. Questions to consider. Is your child introverted or extroverted? Does your child adapt to new situations fast or slow? Is their response to new situations intense? Do they cry, scream, and make a scene? Or is it mild? Do they get quiet or teary-eyed? This information will help you determine what your child needs to be as prepared as possible on the first day of school. The more introverted, intense, and slow to adapt your child is, the more practice runs and information they need prior to school. The more information you provide and the more fun you make school and learning sounds, the better prepared your child will be for kindergarten. How do we help our children develop these skills? Workbooks, kindergarten apps, YouTube channels. Miss Rachel, kids love that. Gracie's Corner, I love that. Actually, these are great, but in order for these skills to actually be retained and transferred to different situations, caregivers should engage with their children through talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. Hands-on experiences solidify the information presented in other mediums. It is recommended to read to your child 15 minutes per day. Reading aloud to children has been proven to increase their attention spans and listening skills. Children's picture books are the best books to read aloud. If you must use screens, talk about what your child has watched and look for books that discuss the subject of your child's favorite shows. And use your resources. For example, the Richland County Public Library has an education studio that provides resources on reading and literacy. This book uses touch and pictures to teach letters, and I found this in the education studio. You can also teach kids responsibility with reading books. So getting them their library card and allowing them to choose their own books actually helps with them listening to you read and enjoying reading. To build cognitive skills, hands-on experiences and reading are key. Last poll, which skills do teachers find the most important in school readiness? Okay. So this is correct. Social and emotional skills. These skills are most important not just for kindergarten, but actually for life. These are some social and emotional skills that are necessary for kindergarten. How can you help your child develop these skills? Identify and regulate emotions. Allow your child to feel their emotions and name their feelings. Have your child practice I statements when they're upset or needing help. Establish positive relationships. Provide opportunities to socialize and share stories of children in social situations. Encourage cooperation and self-control. Play games that involve listening to instructions, taking turns, and sharing. Praise effort, not just outcome. Kids will have to work at perfecting a skill, and this encouragement will build the self-esteem necessary to keep trying. Above all, model behavior. Children do as you do and not as you say. You can help your child become emotionally competent as you model emotional regulation. Children with difficulty making friends or are considered shy may exhibit varying levels of social anxiety. Children who have never been to childcare may experience varying levels of separation anxiety or having difficulty separating from their support group. These anxieties should not significantly impair the child's ability to go to school or interact with others. If impairment occurs, it could be a disorder that needs to be assessed by their doctor. With both these conditions, helping children know what to expect helps. So visiting the school, meeting the teacher, and reading books about starting school and making new friends is helpful. And parents, manage your own emotions. Finally, we'll talk about children with different abilities. Some different abilities are seen on the outside, and some are not. For different abilities seen on the outside, many of these children have been in early intervention or pre-K and already have IEPs. Other children with different abilities are not visible. So learning differently in math or reading, or having vision or hearing difficulties that have not been identified. If you're concerned your child is behind in some way, reach out to the school before the school year starts. Also follow up with your doctor to make sure that their hearing and vision are normal. Finally, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends 5 R's of early childhood. Together, these successfully prepare a child for kindergarten and have them ready for school. Establishing routines for nutrition and sleep form the foundation of physical health and skills. Reading aloud to children and connecting books, workbooks, apps, or television programs with hands-on experiences promote cognitive skills. And commending a child for trying and helping them develop positive relationships with themselves and others encourages social and emotional development. In summary, fill the tank of your child's brain with words spoken and read. Thank you again to South Carolina First Steps for this opportunity, and to you, the caregivers, educators, and advocates of upcoming kindergartners who have allowed me to share my knowledge and passion for learning. Any questions?
Dr. Barnes, you are getting so many wonderful comments in the chat just saying, thank you. Can we get your slides? This was so helpful. These resources are fantastic. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions. I'll read those out to you. So the first is something you were talking about at the end, those social emotional skills. What can parents and the providers do when they know that a child seems particularly anxious or worried about starting kindergarten? What are some specific things that both parents and those providers, maybe the early childhood providers, the sending providers, can be doing?
So the biggest thing you can do is to acknowledge those feelings and recognize that those are normal. So when you allow a child to say, I'm anxious, and you find books or resources that address that anxiousness, that actually helps the child see themselves in that situation and overcoming it. So acknowledging that emotion, letting the child know that it's normal, and finding books that address that anxiety will be really helpful for them.
Thank you so much. Also staying on that track, some parents, and I want to say I was one of those parents. Some of us were worried as our children were heading to school because we had children who, and again, I'm going to say I had a child who was the opposite of anxious. She was very loquacious, but it was also hard for her to sit still. She loved to touch everything on the wall when we walked through the library, to pull books off the shelves. And we know that they're coming into an environment where they're going to be able to need to sit quietly and stay in their seats while they eat. And so what can parents be doing to help their children when they don't seem to be ready in those domains as they're entering school?
So like I was saying before, actually reading aloud helps with attention skills and with listening skills. And so doing that 15 minutes a day of reading is helpful. Also redirecting, kids do that, they're 4 and 5. And so just know that that's normal, but also help them to realize that there is a time and place to do these things. And so that kind of helps them to know, okay, I can do that at home, but at school, this is something that I can't do. And also playing school. So play the teacher, or have the child play the teacher and you play the child. And so they see that they need to sit and they need to practice and they need to have attention. So practice runs also help with that.
Here's another one from a parent. Is it normal for a 4 to 5-year-old child to sleep for only 8 hours with no naps?
Some do. I would find that some of those children can be more irritable or more hyperactive if that's the case. If this is what the child has always done, then maybe that's normal for them. But if you notice that they are becoming more irritable because school is longer and their attention needs to be placed longer, then that's something that I would follow up with their physician about.
And I don't know if this is from a parent or from a provider, but the question is, do you see the value in children this young utilizing behavioral health services to give them additional tools to help manage big emotions? And when is it appropriate to turn toward that sort of behavioral health professional versus some of the broader skills that you're talking about today?
So I am a big proponent of behavioral health. We have behavioral health actually in a lot of our offices in cooperative health. And so I refer children to behavioral health a lot. If you notice that your child is one of those that is very intense, slow to adapt, I think behavioral health is a good option in the toolbox of things that you will use to help your child. And yeah, I love behavioral health and I think it's great to use.
So you are a medical doctor, and we're going to close with more of a medical question. And this is from a provider perspective, but you can also speak to parents on this. How can I, as a provider, as a teacher, know what the allergies are or the medical issues are if the parent has not provided that to my school? And this is a question that comes up because not all parents know. I know you showed that picture of the EpiPen and talked about, different health plans. A lot of parents, if it's their first experience, are not coming in with those plans in hand, and that can be a real challenge for teachers.
It's really hard to know because sometimes the children have not encountered whatever will cause their allergies. And so just reminding the parents, asthma is a chronic illness, kids may need inhalers at school. If they have any food allergies, even if they don't pack that for the child, another child may have it, making sure that they have an EpiPen. So just, I think, reminding the parents that this is something that is important and updating the parents if the child has any reactions to any foods.
Thank you. Just keeping that conversation going. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your engagement with all of the questions. Thanks again to everyone who's here today, our participants, for the great questions. And we want to, again, give you our gratitude, Dr. Barnes, not only for your time today, but for the work that you do here in South Carolina for kids and families. Thank you again. It's now my pleasure to ask Briel McCoy to please turn her camera on so that I can give her a warm welcome. You are us. You are part of our family because you are an early educator. You are a kindergarten teacher. So friends, let's give a big warm welcome to Briel White McCoy. And I'd like to share just a little bit about Briel. Briel is a kindergarten teacher. She teaches in Lamar-Spaulding Elementary in Darlington County. She's a graduate with a bachelor's degree in early childhood education from the University of South Carolina. And then she went on and sought out that master's program in curriculum and instruction, and she completed that in 2023. Briel exemplifies all that encompasses joy, passion, creativity, love, and generosity. You care so deeply, Briel, for the children of Lamar in Darlington County, and that just shines through when you speak, as I know everyone is going to get to hear and enjoy today. So, and I think you may have won a few awards for, and some recognition for that joy and sparking of early learning that you clearly have and share with so many young learners. Briel, if you'll unmute, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be with you today. Like she said, I am a very excitable person. This is my passion. So if I am too loud, I'm in a very small area. Please comment and I'll take it down a notch. But I'm so excited to be sharing today, and that passion is often a little loud. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started because I have been so ready to share about something that I am so passionate about, and that is kindergarten readiness. And so we're going to do right in. They gave you a little information about me. I am a kindergarten teacher at Lamar-Spaulding Elementary here in Darlington County. I am Darlington County District Teacher of the Year this year. I am actually in my 7th year of teaching. It feels like so much longer, but so short at the same time. In that time, I've taught 2nd grade, kindergarten, and 4K. But most of my time has been spent in kindergarten because it is my heart. It is what I'm most passionate about. It is my happy place. And so I try to beg them to not move me out of kindergarten because I just have an extreme passion for it. I have worked with First Steps with the Countdown to Kindergarten program the last 6 years. I worked with them in Lexington, Richland 5, where I taught previously, as well here in Darlington County, working with rising kindergartners during the summer before they go to kindergarten and giving them some of those foundational skills to be ready to go into the classroom. Personally, I got married in October. I have 2 sweet puppies, and we're actually expecting our first baby this September, which is really exciting because now I get to see kids through a parent perspective. And so my mind has already shifted on a lot of things because of that. And I am so thrilled to see babies and kids in a different light too. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is, what is kindergarten readiness? What assessments will the teachers of my child use to determine if they were ready for kindergarten or not? What does kindergarten readiness look like? How can you prepare your child for school readiness? How can you collaborate with your child's school? And what resources and supports are available to us? One of the main things I see in parents coming to kindergarten is they don't know what's out there to help them. So that we're going to really touch on. And of course, there'll be a time for questions at the end. And if I don't know the answer, I promise I will research it and I will find it and I will get back to you. All right, so kindergarten readiness is ensuring that our children are well prepared for the transition to a formal education. A lot of parents just think, okay, my child's 5 years old, it's time, they're ready for kindergarten. But we know there's so much more that goes into being ready for kindergarten. And those expectations have kind of changed. So even through my 7 years of teaching, kindergarten expectations have changed a lot. The expectations are a lot more rigorous, and really they're more of what 1st grade expectations used to be. So we're not taking nap time. We're not having play centers all day. These babies are engulfed in learning from the minute they get there to the end of the day. And hopefully that's through play if they have an amazing teacher, which I'm sure they will. But there are a lot of expectations that we need to be preparing our kids for because it is a big change. And so we know that school readiness sets a strong foundation for future academic success. The children who are coming to kindergarten and 4K prepared to go to school, they're more likely to excel in the future and have positive learning experiences. So one of my biggest responsibilities, I feel like as a kindergarten teacher, is to get them to love school. We want them to be prepared and have a positive experience so they're excited about the next however many long years of school they may have. We want it to be a positive experience for them. And that starts by getting them ready to come. And another thing is readiness is not just academic. Like Dr. Barnes said, there are so many different areas of kindergarten readiness. There's social and emotional readiness, academic readiness, cognitive readiness, as well as physical readiness. Okay, one thing that a lot of our parents come to us a little concerned over is knowing my child's going to be assessed in if they were ready for kindergarten or not. I promise the KRA is the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. It's South Carolina state mandated for all kindergartners, and it is not a gotcha. It is not, oh, well, you didn't prepare your child. It's truly just to see where students are coming in, the ones that had a formal 4K experience or preschool experience. Are they more ready? Are they less ready? And should we be providing 4K statewide for free? Which we should be, but that's kind of what this KRA assessment is looking at. So just so you know, the assessment will be completed within the first 45 days of school. It includes both observational and tasks. So the teacher will observe the children, see how they're playing, see how they're learning, see how they're interacting, and they will also give them tasks to complete. There are different areas that the KRA assesses. Excuse me, there's mathematics, language and literacy, social foundations, physical well-being, as well as motor development. And so when you get your child's scores back, they usually come back about December for the second report card. You'll notice that they fall into a performance level. Either they'll be demonstrating readiness, which means they came in, they were where they were supposed to be, where we would expect them to be. Or they could be approaching, which means they weren't quite demonstrating all of the skills we would expect, but they were approaching those expectations. And then there's emerging readiness, which means they were gaining towards those skills, but weren't quite ready, or they either did not participate, which means the test might not have been completed for some reason. And basically, this just provides teachers some knowledge of how they need to go further with the children. Where are they and how can they meet their needs going further? Okay, social and emotional readiness is the first area we're going to talk about. It's so important, like Dr. Barnes and our poll showed us. So we know that children need to be strong communicators and have strong interpersonal skills. By the time they enter kindergarten, we would hope that they can express their emotions clearly and appropriately. When they are having those big feelings, they're upset, they're angry, they're sad, they know how to express that appropriately and they can problem solve. So we also should be becoming independent problem solvers. We can manage conflict, we can work with other students, we can solve problems when they arrive. And we are learning to become independent in building relationships with peers and teachers. We want to have a secure level of attachment where we may be a little nervous, we may be a little anxious, but we're still able to go out in my new classroom and meet friends and work with other students and work with teachers and have an appropriate level of attachment. We want to be able to self-soothe when we're upset. So self-control, learning how to breathe, count to 5, all of those skills to self-soothe when we're upset and express how we feel and what we need. That's really important in a kindergarten classroom where there may be 20 or more kids. Cognitive readiness. So cognitive readiness is also very important, as we know. So we know that children should be developing language and literacy skills like identifying their name when they see it, comprehending text when they're read aloud to them. Can they answer questions that you're asking them about a book you just read together? And using appropriate vocabulary. We also want them to be able to build some early math skills like counting and sorting and number sense, knowing what even a number is, that it represents a set of objects. It is important that they're curious and creative and have a love for learning. So when you're preparing your child, you want it to be fun. Don't make it something that they have to do. We want it to be something they love to do. Okay. All right, physical readiness. So school age physical, we expect our students to have good, strong, fine motor skills as long as gross motor skills. So those fine motor skills are, can they grasp the pencil correctly? Can they hold scissors appropriately and safely? And their gross motor skills are used for physical activities and play, like hopping and skipping and walking safely through a crowd without bulldozing through and hitting everyone. Can they walk safely and gently through a crowd? We can assist them by promoting health and wellness through nutrition and exercise. And these are skills they'll gain in kindergarten, but it's skills that getting ahead will help them in the classroom. Okay, we talked about this a little bit already, self-care skills, so important. So when we come to kindergarten, we need to make sure that we're able to use the restroom on our own. That includes wiping. So public school educators are not allowed to help your child wipe. That is one of the biggest things that we get at the beginning of the year. So practicing that before you get to school. Same thing with zipping and buttoning jackets. That's a skill they can work on before. Knowing when they need a tissue. So we're not having to tell them, oh, your nose is running, you might need a tissue. Them realizing that and getting that on their own, as well as hand washing procedures. Okay, so now we talked about what readiness is, and now we're going to talk about how you can help prepare your child to be ready for kindergarten. I love this quote. It's by Ann Landers. She said, "It is not what you do for your children, but what you have taught them to do for themselves." And that is what makes them successful human beings. That is what we want from our children, right? As parents, as educators, caregivers, we want them to be independent and their own little people. And so we want to encourage them to practice independence as many times as we can at home, at school, at church, wherever they are. And I know it takes longer a lot of times for our children to do things and for us to just do them, but I promise it pays off. So giving them opportunities to practice independence at home. Can they putting their clothes in the hamper themselves, help you set the table, helping take care of pets, following those multi-step directions. Can they brush their teeth and then get dressed for bed without you having to remind them along the way? Putting on and fastening their own shoes, opening containers on their own. This really prepares for lunchtime. They only get about 25 minutes at school for lunch. So we needed them to be able to open things on their own. Practice that before you get to school. And then also cleaning up after themselves. All right, this one is going to seem self-explanatory, but I promise it is so crucial. Talking at home. We need to talk to our children. Their brains need 20 different exposures to a new word before a child can use that word in their own vocabulary and own it as their word. So vocabulary is one of the leading factors to academic success for young students. So we need to be talking with our children every day, using different vocabulary words, explaining what new words mean and how they can use those words so that they adopt those words as their own. This quote from a Harvard graduate student really stuck to me, and it says, the important thing is not just to talk to your child, but to talk with your child. It's not just about dumping language into your child's brain, but to actually carry on a conversation with them. And that is key, having a two-sided conversation so students know how to have a conversation, but also gain that rich vocabulary that you as an adult have. So talking at home is one of the best ways you can prepare your child. And we obviously know reading is important. Reading at home is crucial. So we, in kindergarten, we have our students read 20 minutes every night at home. And this graphic kind of shows why we do that. So Naj and Herman show the importance of nightly reading by showing how it impacts vocabulary. So let's look at student A. Student A reads 20 minutes every day. That ends up being 3,600 minutes in a school year. And they learn 1,800,000 new words. Think about that rich vocabulary that they're gaining and using. They end up testing in the 90th percentile. When those MAP tests, the end of year testing comes around, those students perform at 90th percentile. Look at student B. So student B reads 5 minutes each day. That's about 900 minutes in the school year. And they adopt about 282,000 new words into their vocabulary. And they end up scoring around the 50th percentile, which is still good, but look at the difference between 20 minutes and 5 minutes. And then look at student C. Student C only reads 1 minute each day. That's only 180 minutes in the entire school year. So you're looking at about 8,000 new vocabulary words, and they tend to only score in about the 10th percentile on those tests. So we can see that reading makes a difference, even 20 minutes. And I know it's, you have baseball games and you have dance recitals and all of those things, but really making the effort to have those 20 minutes with your child, reading together, enjoying that time together is not just about academic, but it also shows them it's a nice quality time between the caregiver and the student. But we don't need to wait till kindergarten to have these expectations for 20 minutes of nightly reading. You can start now to get them ready. And so you can help them by developing these reading routines before school and engaging in conversations about books to promote that language development and strong vocabulary. Nightly reading also benefits the students in learning early literacy behavior skills. So they can see you how you read from left to right, from top to bottom. They can see where they go when you get to the end of a line and go to the next line sweep. All of this is key to having them develop early literacy skills that they'll use in kindergarten. Plus, we want them to see us enjoying reading ourselves as adults. All right, now, You don't need anything fancy. I promise. This is the hardest thing parents say is, well, I don't have these things at home. You have everything you need at home to develop these literacy skills at home. So use what you have. Here are some ways that you can use what you have around you at home to prepare your child in building these early literacy skills. So you can label things in your house so they start recognizing concept of print, letters and words. They start seeing them and know that they represent something. You can point out labels of things that they know and already love. I'm sure your child can already say fruit snacks when you show them the package of the fruit snacks they love. Or when they see the McDonald's logo, they know it's McDonald's. So this is called environmental print, and it's the first way that we read. We read the world around us. So they're already readers. And pointing that out to them. You can build background knowledge on a topic by talking about everyday experiences. Show your children pictures and tell them stories. All of that builds that vocabulary. Then you can also practice by having them help you. So maybe you're making a peanut butter and jelly and you say, can you hand me something out of the pantry that starts with a P, like peanut butter? So just incorporating letter sounds and letters into what you're already probably having them do. And then exploring rhymes and songs. This helps them develop new words and develop speaking skills. I know that they sometimes can be a lot as a parent to hear them over and over, but I promise they are worth it. Ways that you can build math skills at home, same thing. You don't need anything fancy. You can have your child help you match socks. You can have them sort things like different colors of Fruit Loops. Matching and sorting things that are alike and different are kindergarten math skills that will prepare them for kindergarten. My biggest advice for mathematical thinking is count all the time. Count everything. Count while they brush their teeth. Count as they hop outside. Count how many animals they can see in a book. How many red cars they pass. All of those ways are ways to just get them counting and practicing. That rote numeracy counting is so crucial in kindergarten. You can hunt for numbers and spot them in their environment. You can find them on cereal boxes or at the post office. Just pointing out, that's the number 3. It must represent 3 items. You know, whatever it is, just pointing it out so they already have some idea of number sense. And then board games are also another way to count forward and backward, recognize patterns, and to use dice. And those are probably things you already have at home. Now, we know the collaboration between home and school is crucial for student success. So these are ways that you can have that positive relationship with your child's teacher once they do go to kindergarten. Having an open line of communication between home and school are crucial. Teamwork goes both ways. So you want to make sure that you're sharing information and concerns, as well as listening and working with the teacher as a teammate to make a positive experience for your child. This can happen by attending parent-teacher meetings and workshops and just knowing how to help your child. And your teacher will want that. A lot of times teachers get really busy and parents think they're avoiding them. Sometimes they're just overwhelmed. It's not that they don't want the help. So you just sometimes reaching out saying, hey, is there anything I can help Johnny with that he's working on in class? It'll mean the world to the teacher, and hopefully they're communicating those things with you as well. This quote from the Annie Casey Foundation says, the extent to which schools nurture positive relationships with families and vice versa makes all the difference. Research shows students whose parents stay involved in school have better attendance and behavior, get better grades, and demonstrate better social skills and adapt better to school. So we know that that collaboration is key in success. And hopefully that'll start before the school year even begins with the teacher and the child and the family. So some different resources and supports that are out there. You can get support through your local community programs and organizations that offer early childhood education, like Amazing First Steps. They can get you books, supplies, and anything to have exposure to learning before entering kindergarten is key. Your local library is a great resource for exposure to books, adult-led activities, explorations, and more. I'm at the library today. I was a little loud, but they're helpful even when you're an adult. Really important though is to contact your child's school that they'll be zoned for to learn necessary information like the curriculums they use, resources they have, and registration information. A lot of time parents think we still start school in September, and usually that's too late. So we want to get in early. We want to make sure we have our proof of residencies, shot records, and birth certificates so that our children are ready to start kindergarten day one. There are some online resources that I do feel like are very helpful for parents. We know real life hands-on experiences are always the best and most productive experiences and exposures for our child. But we do know that sometimes they have an iPad and it sometimes can be used for good. So these are some free educational resources that I like to use in my classroom and I suggest for parents. Epic Reading is great for reading. It reads the books to them. They can take little quizzes on them. Just great for reading comprehension. Starfall has math and ELA literacy skills that are in games, so the kids really enjoy it. ThinkRoll's Play and Code app, Khan Academy Kids, and Fish School all are just different websites that have some different games and learning opportunities for your children. If they do have their iPad, at least it would be productive time. The main thing I want to share is that the time to start preparing for your child to get in school is now. So having these experiences and these opportunities to learn are key before kindergarten. And we're going to do questions and comments in a second, but I want to share my contact information. This is my school phone number, my email's on there. I am always willing to help anyone figure something out together, work together. If you ever need anything, you have a question, a comment, please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. And I'm always here to help because like I said, I love kindergarten. This age is just such a special time. And we want it to be a good experience for all of our children.
Briel, thank you so much, and thank you for your passion. You are also getting lots of thank yous and gratitude in the chat box, and also from people watching online, including a nice shout out from Deputy Superintendent of the State Department of Education, Dr. Ferguson, who says that he knows you and sings your praises. So
I love you.
Please know that your message that you carried today was really helpful. Jumping right in, we have a couple of questions. You talked about the kindergarten readiness assessment. What if my child doesn't score well on the kindergarten readiness assessment? Should I be worried? I got it many months after the start of kindergarten. What should I do about that?
That's the hard part. It's not very timely. Like I said, but by the time they get the data all organized and sent back out, it's about December. So you're about halfway through the school year, but it's still valuable information. On the printout that you get, it'll actually give you some tips on what your child actually could improve on. But reaching out to your child's teacher and seeing, okay, are you still seeing these things in the classroom? Have they improved in this area? Don't panic. Okay, we know that some kids are just developmentally more ready than others for kindergarten, no matter what previous exposures they've had. And that's okay. Teachers are created to meet them where they are. So that's what we're going to do. No matter how they score, we're going to take them where they are and take them where we need them to go and grow them. So don't panic if your child did not score as well as you think on it. We also have to remember this is done in the first 45 days. So kids are still getting acclimated. Some of them are nervous. Some of them are really too excited, so there's a lot happening. There's a lot of change. It happens while the school day is going on. So it might've just been they weren't very focused during that time or they got distracted. So don't be upset if your child doesn't do as well as you think, but it can give you ideas for if you have another student coming up down things that you can work with at home, or just what resources could that teacher provide to help you continue to build on those skills.
Thank you. So last question is, do you think that a child who has been parent taught at home, where the parent was really engaged and taught them the alphabet, numbers, reading, math, will that child be bored in kindergarten, or will they be easily distracted? What if they come in already knowing that I can get 15 to 20 minutes of attention, then I lose him?
Yes, so that is the opposite side of what we usually typically see, but there are students that are gifted or that have had all of these exposures or pre-K where they come in knowing a lot of those foundational skills. I will say, especially here in South Carolina, we are so big on small groups. So much of your kindergarten school day is not a whole group where all of the kids are learning the exact same thing in the exact same way, because we know they have different needs. So those students that come in already having those skills and knowing those skills, the teacher will be working with them separately and giving them extension activities to take them even higher so they're not bored, because we know when kids are bored, that's when behaviors happen. So differentiation is something your teacher will absolutely be doing, to where your child isn't bored or feels like they're not getting what they need either. Everyone will get what they need. And if you do notice that your child is coming home and saying that, mention it to the teacher. I promise it won't be offensive. As a teacher, I would want to know, hey, Johnny needs a little bit more extension. He needs a little bit more deeper thinking and challenging. And that way I'll know, oh my goodness, I thought I was, let me do more. Let me research where I can go next. So having, like I said, that open communication with your child's teacher will help them make sure they're all getting what they need, even if it's on the opposite side.
Briel, thank you for closing with the heart of this whole session, which is about that school-home connection, that sturdy bridge, that seamless transition, which should continue, as you're saying, into the kindergarten year. Thank you again, Briel. Thank you, Dr. Barnes. We are in the last 2 or 3 minutes of our time together. So we just want to close out by sharing with you that Countdown to Kindergarten has expanded beyond what it started as 20 years ago, believe it or not, as a home visiting program, that school family connection we talked about earlier, to really now being a broad-based parent knowledge building platform that lives in every community through a single website that we hope you will share with your families that you work with, or if you're a parent, with your friends and neighbors. It's called countdownsc.org. And if you go there to countdownsc.org, if you're a teacher or a parent, you can download resources and tools and some great shareables, including 10 tips that are really practical. I use them with my own kids. I also want to call your attention on this site to celebrations happening all over the state. We talked about practicing and sort of acclimating young students to what kindergarten will be like. Dr. Barnes even talked about, I think Briel did as well, the importance of being able to, open that milk carton or those basic skills. Well, at these Countdown to Kindergarten events that happen all over the state, kids get to practice those skills. They're really fun. They take place in parks and museums and libraries and nonprofits and childcare centers and schools. So check out the site. Some are already listed. There will be more coming throughout the summer. And then last, but certainly not least, you see this Ready for Kindergarten. This is a toolkit. This is a resource that has so many great tools included in it. It was created for you, by teachers, by providers, by early childhood educators. Please check it out, also on countdownsc.org. We will close out with just a final request that you use this link and this QR code. You can just pick up your phone and scan it to take a brief survey about today. We will share these resources out. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Please give us feedback. It allows us to continue to build on this opportunity into the years to come. Thank you all for your time.